Let's talk about rage for a second. In the very early days of this case, when everybody was blaming or saying that Kaylee's ex, Jack, or Hoodie Guy could have been behind the murders, I was staunchly in the camp of this was a stranger. This was not somebody who knew them. And the reason I said that is because, well, two things. One, if Jack or Hoodie Guy wanted to murder Kaylee or Maddie, they had the ability to isolate them away from the group and away from the house. So why choose to go into the house when everybody's home, there's 4 or 5 cars out front? Why choose to go into the house when all you had to do was answer a phone call from Kaylee and maybe go meet for a walk or do something outside? They didn't need to go into the house if they were strictly after Kaylee or Maddie. The other reason I didn't think either one of them could be behind it is because the police called this a targeted attack for a reason. And I assume it's because of the brutality of the crime scene. And because it was so brutal and because the weapon used was a knife, it was assumed that this was somebody who knew these kids. It had to be somebody who knew these kids for there to be such rage, such a crime of passion, as some people called it. And I didn't see Jack or Hoodie Guy having that kind of rage for all 4 victims. And this brings me to why, again, I think there's only one person behind this. And it's that the rage involved with each set of victims, Maddie and Kaylee, Ethan and Xana, it was so similar. And I thought, I just couldn't imagine there being 2 people with the same kind of rage for these 4 kids. A lot of people want to talk about the illegal substance angle to this. And here's why I don't think that's involved either. In a case like that, where somebody's owed money or they're trying to send a message, they typically send somebody else to do it. They're not doing it themselves. So that means that the person being sent, they're not as emotionally invested in the action as, say, the person who's owed money or the person who wants to protect whatever they have. And that's not what we were told this crime scene was. Like we heard the word frenzy. We heard crime of passion. And what's so unsettling is that it's not even like a fight broke out that we know of. 3 of these kids, we know 2 were in bed, and it's believed another one was in bed and one was up and around. And we haven't heard anything about any sort of commotion other than the whimper and maybe voices and a thud. So what would provoke? It's not like the suspect was provoked in any way, and in that moment they snapped. Somebody went into that house. I believe one person went into that house already enraged. And that rage was compounded by the adrenaline this person must have been producing as they walked into this house, as they committed this crime. And now, we produce adrenaline when fight or flight kicks in. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Adrenaline is so that we're functioning at our optimum best. We're stronger, we're faster, we see better, our hearing's better. The amount of adrenaline he must have been producing while committing this crime also, I believe, helped him commit this crime in such a short amount of time. People have been discounting the adrenaline the whole time. And I think it played a very big role in how he was able to, for lack of a better word, execute this plan. And this was planned. Like, the logistics were planned, right? He knew he had I think he had a kill kit. I think he was all ready to go. I don't know, but something made him select that night. And I don't know if it was an impulse, where he was just sort of fighting an urge, or was there some kind of stressor? We've heard that he was having issues at the school where he was a TA, and that he was losing his job and he was being put on probation. Could he have decided to kill students because it was students that put his job at the school at risk? Now, there's considered to be 4 primary motivating factors for murder, and they call it the 4 L's: love, lust, loot, or loathing. And love is, a mercy killing. Somebody that a loved one is suffering, and so you take them out of their, you take away their pain. Lust obviously is like a crime of passion, a lover, jealousy. Loot, obviously money. Loathing is a hatred for a particular group of people, be it like people of a certain race, of a certain faith, of a certain sex. Could he have been acting out on his frustration with students, probably female students, who complained about him? Could that have been the stressor? I don't know. In addition to the 911 call, the biggest question for me is why? Why these people? Why these kids? I was doing some research on the Jodi Arias case, and in that case, she stabbed him 28 times, slit his throat, and shot him in the face. And it was right after they had had sex. And the fact that she was taking his picture while he was taking a shower, and then out of nowhere, she just starts stabbing him. That kind of, the fact that somebody can go from one extreme to the other is really terrifying to me. But at least in that case, I knew what the motive was. He had broken up with her. He was starting to date somebody else. But we don't have a motive here. We don't have a motive in this case. And I'm wondering did the rage start in the car? Do we even know, was he at the corner club that night? I feel like something had to have happened, right? Like, did he go to the corner club? Did Maddie or Kaylee maybe reject him? I don't think they've ever said that they found him on camera anywhere. But I feel like something had to have happened to make him get in his car at 2:30 and drive to Moscow. Unless this was just planned all along. But knowing the kind of rage that was shown at that crime scene, there had to be something behind it. And I don't think it was just that he was stalking one of them or that he was obsessed with one of them. I don't know that that's it. I mean, it could be. He could have been stalking them, and he could have followed them to the corner club that night, and one of them rejected him, and so he went home and he was sort of like stewing about it, and then decided. But then he had everything ready, right? Like, they had the receipts for the Dickies suit, and they had the nitrile gloves, which are in a lot of cases they're tear proof. So that could explain why, like, maybe if there was no fingernail marks on his hands, that could be why. So we know he was prepared for this, but was this something? I keep going over and over and over this in my brain. this was planned, this was something he wanted to do, this was something he decided to act on, but did something that night trigger something? And that's where the buildup and the rage started. Because for me, the idea that someone could just become that enraged over nothing, you know, that's terrifying to me. And that's why I want to know why. I want to know the lead up. I want to understand what could have motivated somebody to commit this crime. You tell me what you think. Do you think that there was a stressor? And if so, what do you think it was? Leave it in the comments.